this is Apex. So Apex is more, say, industry specific. These are suppliers for parts that, distributors or other people might buy. And they're in like these large ballrooms in Caesars, the Venetian. So, just kind of walking through, looking at a couple things. It doesn't open until 9. It's like, I think it's 8:30 right now. So, gives me kind of a good chance to see what's here and which ones I might want to come back to. Top diag. Compressors. Wheel bearings, front bumpers. Those are Mercedes. Huh. Lug nuts, suspension. So lots of stuff like this. Air filters. So just walk through. I'll let you guys know if I see anything interesting. This booth has lots of air compressors, jump starters. I've seen a lot of these before, probably with different logos or brand names on them. But in my experience, most of these work pretty similarly. All right, so I'm here in South Lower. I didn't go to South Lower last year. This is mostly wheels and tires, so we're probably gonna go through this pretty quickly, but I'll show you some of the stuff here. We'll probably speed a lot of this up. AL13. I'm sure you've regularly seen them on Daily Driven Exotics. If you watch that channel. KG1, locks. Remember, the whole purpose of this show is for people to make deals and relationships, get to meet people, that kind of thing, right? So there are a lot of companies that you maybe have never heard of before. So like, this one, youll, for example, right? Some interesting wheels, carbon fiber actually, it's pretty cool. 3-piece. Now they might be looking for like a U.S. distributor, right? Because maybe they don't have anybody in North America or anybody in the United States. So that's what a lot of this is. Maybe a third. The car show side and the wheels and tires side always has the girls at the booth. But let's see. Magnesium wheels, J-curve racing, interesting. It's like a Corolla race car. It's pretty neat. Magnesium alloy. Magnesium wheels are typically an upgrade for like Porsches, super expensive, as like an OEM thing. It's kind of an interesting. I haven't seen many manufacturers doing aftermarket magnesium. Maybe it's just because I don't follow that space very much. Jeeps. There's always Jeeps. Spacers. More wheels. Wheels. Slugs, studs, lug nuts, spacers, centering rings. More spacers. Always some cool cars. Bunch of Mopar stuff.
I had
Jeeps. Some more man cane, caliper covers, all kinds of different stuff here. So keep walking. We'll go through all of this, and then we're going to go back up to South Upper. Because yesterday I got through about half of it, and then Adamo had to get back because he had a date with Luminous. So trying to help him launch his channel as part of this as well, getting him some videos and different things like that. So it's been a good, we're getting into like trucking. These are landscape tires. Heard of them before. Interesting. Man Spider. Items. Think of an AMG GT. It's a future car. I think it's a GT43. Like AMG GTR, GTS. They're available now. They're in the used market in the 50 to 70 range. Probably make that happen. I don't know how much more they'll depreciate. They're still making them. Numbers are limited. The new ones are 150 grand. So probably hold its value pretty well. Mercedes tend to fall off a cliff over the first 2 to 3 years, and then hold their value pretty well after that. So the sweet spot for Mercedes is always like 2 years, 20,000 miles, 3 years, 30,000 miles, something like that. Off lease, still has warranty. TPMS. So yeah, all wheels and tires here. All right, South Upper. So we were at a lot of these yesterday, so I'm kind of running through them really quick. Big ones here were Bosch, Nextled, Wera Weha, Nipex. Milwaukee's got a really nice booth in the back. Spent some time there. Merca's here. Spent some time there. And I'm looking for... Oh, I must have skipped it somehow. I need 33187. 34. 187, sorry. So there's numbers on the ground, but a lot of them are covered up. It's 171. So 187 is ShineMate, which will be up here. We'll check them out. I don't really think there's anything new that we're going to pick up from ShineMate, but you never know. So yeah, here they are. So they have the 212 and the 213, of course. This is a new 3mm 5-inch, 5mm 5-inch. These are Sanders, they're corded. They do also have the 2 3-inch, the 2 1-inch. This looks like maybe a 2-inch rotary. It's kind of interesting. Oh no, it's DA. It's like a 2mm orbit. Interesting. So, not a... really a whole lot to dig into for ShineMate. Here. I saw these online and I assumed that they were cordless, but they're not. They're corded machines. There's the Bosch booth. We were here yesterday. And they're using their Sanders on the car. This side is abrasives. And then over here they have all the polishers and units. We tested a lot of them yesterday. I think Bosch is at a strange point in that these products aren't available in the US, and I don't think they've really competed in that market before. I think they've got some good products. I'll talk more about this on the video, but they've got a 3-inch DA, 3-inch rotary, 12mm orbit on the DA. They have both of them have trigger locks. It's a push button trigger lock, like a standard rotary, like the Milwaukee would have, right? They also have 1-inch rotary in DA. The DA is a short throw, so it's like a 2mm orbit, or I think it's a 5mm orbit. So pretty standard for right now. And they're that kind of small form factor, Merca style, like the one that ShineMate came out with, and some of these other brands have been coming out with over time. They also have a 5-inch, which is interesting. Their 5-inch is an 8mm orbit. Milwaukee has a 6-inch that is similar, but it's a 5mm orbit and it's a 6-inch. So I actually have the Milwaukee because I have Milwaukee tools, but I'm interested in the Bosch. But I think the price point is going to be, I don't want to say too high. I think it's going to be too high for people to give it a shot. So they're like $600, which the Mercas are, 6 to 8. So it's not out of this world high, right? It's not an unreasonable number. And that's with battery packs and a charger in a case. I'm sure because they're Bosch, and like most major brands, Bosch, Milwaukee, DeWalt, whoever, they do go on sale, right? And they do have coupons available, and they do have like kind of the games you can play. Nobody ever pays retail for a Milwaukee tool unless they're in a jam and they need it today, So I think that's one of those things where it's like, well, we have the ability to potentially save some money. So maybe you get 15-20% off. So maybe you're at the $500 range, which is still high. For $500, you can get both of the ShineMates together. They have more power than the ShineMate, like definitely more power. They probably have more power than the Merca. I don't know. It's close. I've never thought the Merca was underpowered, but these have a ton of power. They're really good. The downside is they have more vibration. And they are V1 of these tools for them, right? So Merca's been making these things for years and years and years and years and years, and they're up to these crazy like noise, vibration, and harshness standards for the EU, where for ShineMate, they've done it. They've had other polishers in the past, but these new ones, they've had them for a year, right? They released them last year at SEMA. Actually, we couldn't even buy them until about 6 months later. And then the new ones, these Bosch units, I think Bosch has been making tools for a lot longer than ShineMate has. They definitely have better battery systems, and that's the big problem with ShineMate, right? Their battery systems kind of suck. They just don't have the longevity over time. You'll see battery degradation, and you end up buying more batteries and all of that stuff. But the Bosch system I know is really good because 20 years ago it was really good, and they've just been doing it for a long time. So I would say that's a tool that you could buy and not worry about. But then it's like, well, you're practically spending Merca money. Do you just get a Merca? Do you just do something different? All that kind of stuff, right? So they're all slightly imperfect at this point. The ShineMate, like the way they do their trigger lock is kind of clunky, and their batteries aren't great, but overall they're a good value, right? The Milwaukee doesn't have the throw that you need. The Merca doesn't have a trigger lock. The Bosch has all of those things, but it has more vibration. It's like you kind of have to pick your negative. Which one are you okay dealing with? I would say it has a lot to do with what tools you have and what tool system you're in. And Bosch has been around for a long time. I know people that use Bosch tools. Back in the day when I worked at Sound Solutions doing stereos, the owner used Bosch, and one of the other guys used Makita, and one of the other guys used DeWalt, and I used Milwaukee. I kind of had all of them there. But almost everybody is DeWalt, Makita, or Milwaukee at this point. And I would say DeWalt and DeWalt and Milwaukee are a bigger segment of that space. So it's like, is it worth another battery system? Is it worth, going into something completely different, increasing cost? I can buy the Milwaukee for $329. The Bosch is a little bit better. It's got more throw, but if it's now $500 or $600, it's not worth it. And if that's $500 or $600, and the Mercas are not much more than that, especially if you grab them on sale. I've seen them. Clean Garage does like 15% off, or other places you get OG for Black Friday sale. They'll go on sale. Like, you don't have to pay retail on any of them. So I don't know. It's kind of weird. It'll be interesting to see when somebody does it all together. Now, Merca does have a 5-inch prototype I've heard about that is cordless. They're still working on it. They still have some things that they need to work out. But it'll be interesting when they release that. I did talk to them yesterday about a trigger lock. I'm hopeful that they will, they said they're working on the programming to make that happen. And they're not, they weren't willing to commit one way or another if they were going to be able to make it happen or not, right? So I hope they do, but I honestly don't know. I did ask them if they could slow down the rotary a little bit. The 3-inch rotary starts off at 1500 RPMs, which is a little on the high side. So when you're spreading your polish, you end up getting it on adjacent panels sometimes if you're not careful. So I said, could you have like a soft start mode or something like that, where it's a lower speed for spreading, maybe not for cutting, but for spreading. And they said that they would take a look at that too. So I'm also hopeful that they will. That is one of the cool things. Like, Merca's engineers are here. They want feedback. They're talking to me, they're talking to Adamo, they're talking to Matt, they're talking to all these different people that are playing with their units and getting feedback, because they come from automotive repair and automotive manufacturing, not from the detailing space. So the things that we as a group want are a little bit different than what the typical person does, right? I think it'll be interesting to see what happens in the future. Merca has a corded 5-inch here, which I really liked. Thought it was nice. I might consider buying it, honestly. I haven't had a desire to own a corded machine in a long time, and now they have it, and it's really good. It's a rotary, but it's really, really nice, and I want to buy one. Oh, lev rack is here too. I was talking to them yesterday. I might do a lev rack next year in my garage. Fingers crossed. Yeah, so the Merca rotary, the corded rotary, has a trigger lock. It's got a soft start mode. It starts off at 600 RPMs is the low speed, but they also have you can go down to like 400 or something like that when it's starting. And seems really well done. So I liked it quite a bit. From what I understand, the prototype is using their same 10.8 volt battery. So I mentioned to them, looking at the handle and layout of their 5-inch corded tool, that maybe they could incorporate a battery similar to the one that Roops has in their HLR75, which is an 18 volt battery. It's a 5-cell pack. And that's the problem that you run into, right? Because in order to get power, RPM, or torque, you either need you need a motor spinning, and you need the electricity there. So voltage is what's going to give you more RPM and more torque in general, right? You can gear for one or the other, but if you want more output from the motor, you need to up the voltage typically. Now, maybe that requires them to maintain a completely separate type of motor. I don't know exactly how their corded tools work, if they're using an AC motor, or if they're switching that to DC inside the handle, and then they're running the motor on DC, probably. So it might require them to actually have a completely different motor for this than what they have for their other tools, because all of their other tools are 10.8 volts. And that 10.8 volt motor probably can't run on an 18 volt battery. So that might be a problem. But, a 12 volt battery pack, or a 10.8 volt battery pack, as Merca more accurately calls it, is a 3-cell battery pack. So typically lithium batteries come in cells. They look like a C battery or a D battery, if you're familiar with the old alkaline cells. They come in a variety of different sizes, but an 18650 is a pretty popular size, and that's a little bit bigger. It's like a fat AA. So those have a nominal voltage of 3.7 and then their like peak voltage is like 4.2. So a lot of brands, they just say it's a 12 volt, 3 times 4 is 12, and that's a little bit of rounding. Technically, it's a 3.7, so that's where you get the less than 12 from some other brands. They're all 3-cell batteries, right? Whether it's a Milwaukee M12 or it's a Merca battery. This is 10.8 on this side of it. If you want to go to 18 volts, then you need 5 cells. So, and even then, they'll probably still call it like 16 because they're German and accurate, right? So, if you end up with 5 cells, that configuration can look like an M18 battery, where they're laying down. So, like a CP 3.0 would have 5 cells in it. An M18, like a 6.0, would have 10 cells in it, right? They've got like double stack where they're running more cells, but in parallel to give you that greater runtime, greater amperage output. But an 18 volt should be able to probably get them the performance characteristics that they need. And I don't know, I'm hopeful that they can do it. And I think that the layout that Roop has used for the HLR75 is actually a pretty ingenious layout because it's integrated in the handle, it's kind of a low profile, and you can fit your hand around it as a grip. So it'll be interesting to check out when something happens, but I'm guessing it's going to take a while.